I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh, well, hello, and welcome. I tell you, I am excited to be back in the building. I'm excited to be back in the building. I get another opportunity, y'all, to share another author, a part of the 100 author movement. So, welcome. For those that do not know who I am the visionary of the Crew Podcast, Aspiring Authors Magazine, and AALAC, which is the African American Author Literacy Awareness Campaign, the Chasing Your Dream book tour. I tell you, I get excited when I get a chance to share amazing individuals, creative individuals that's making a that they creating and leaving a legacy and making a way for others to come after them. I tell you, it's nothing like being able to create a path for someone else. So I'm going to move out the way and allow this amazing individual to come up and share a little bit about herself. I could begin to tell you a little about her, but I promise you, I probably would leave out a whole lot because she definitely does a lot. She has a hand in a lot. Not saying that she's all over the place. She just does a lot because she just have that many gifts and talents. You know, the word tells us that he will make room for your gift and your talents, and he will put you in front of great people. And that's definitely what he has done. He has definitely allowed me to come across some great people. And the one tonight, y'all, outside of being an author, um, she is a social worker. She's a podcast host. She is a international speaker, a renowned writer. I tell you, she is a best-selling. I don't know how many times because she has not only did solo projects, she's also been a part of collaborations. And I tell you, everything that this young lady touched always prosper. So I'm just so glad to be in her midst, to be a part of the things that she do. I'm gonna move on out the way and allow her to introduce herself. Come on to the stage.
Hi, everyone.
How are
Hey,
you?
I am Black Diamond. I'm fine. Thank you so much for having me on here. It's been a while since we did an interview together, but just to hear what you have said about me, I want to be like you. So you're saying you wanted to be like me. I want to be like you because you have your hands in everything. And I have watched you blossom into a wonderful woman. And I am going back to the day that you asked me to be a podcast host. And I said, no, I can't do that. Nobody wants to hear what I have to say. So I'll pass. And you convinced me to come in, and I'm enjoying this journey and watching others flourish and tell their stories because their stories are so impactful. And it leads to other conversations and it brings listeners to the forefront to say that I have something to say and I need to say this and get it off my chest. So I thank you for this platform to be able to let me go out and speak with people. And it's just been, I'm not even going to say an awesome ride, it's an awesome journey that I'm on. And as long as you'll have me, as long as I'll be here. So it's just been wonderful.
Wow.
Just been
So a little bit about Black Diamond. For those that may not know who you are, um, I know there are so many facets about you. Let's talk about you being a best-selling author.
I still have a problem with that word author, even though I know I use it in my title, and I only use it in my title because there's someone with a similar name who's a writer. So I just put that in the front of it. I don't really call myself an author. I say somebody like Maya Angelou is an author. I'm nowhere near that. I just write, and whatever comes to my mind, I write. I could sit on the bus and there could be something going on. By the time I get off the bus, it's a story that I've already written. So it just comes to me in that way. And excuse me. And I just continue to write and I'll write and write and write. And part of that way, I'll discover something else in that and I'll make it out of the second part. So sometimes it takes me a while to write my books and publish them. And I've been working on them for years. It's because it's more than one at a time that I'm doing because it happens to split. And that's what happened with the Stacey F. Journey split into four books, and they were released within the same year, several months behind each other. So writing, I'm not going to say it comes easy, but I enjoy it when it does. And I love to experience what I write because I love to get into my characters to see what's going on with them in order for me to present them to you. I don't want to write something and I have no knowledge of it, or it's just fluff, or it's just to write a book. I really get involved with my characters. I believe every book that I've written, not just the co authored books, um, many of them touched very close to home. The first one was In My Mother's House, and of course, that was about the things that occurred in my mother's house as I was growing up, and that was pertaining to me, my experiences as far as what I was going through. And I know some people say, you don't talk about what happens in your mother's house, but think about it this way: if you have a child living in a home with some adults and others who are in the home, and that child is made uncomfortable, I'll say it that way because I don't like using a certain word. She has no one to talk to tell because the story is said, you don't say what goes on in your house. So you look at your neighbor on the left and you look to your neighbor on the right. What's going on in that house with that little girl or that little boy? Is it something going on? At the time that I was tampered with, I'll say it that way, I didn't tell anybody. I was threatened if I did. So I kept it to myself. I was in my 40s when I finally said something about it. And the individuals that I told about it, they cried. And I told them it was nothing that you could do because you were a child too. But I've always grown up. I know I could have told my mom, but that was the threat that if I told my mom that, then they would kill my mother. So I just never said anything. And even though this person passed when I was 18, I just started living life to the best way that I could and just trying to put it behind me. But it's so in the forefront now that in my mother's house should not just be in my mother's house. Speak to your kids, try to get them to talk about the things that are happening. You don't want them to go 40 some years later and they have to keep living it and not being able to tell anybody about it. From that, I felt as though that I wanted to protect every child that came in my family. No matter what, I wanted to just be there. I didn't want people around them. I didn't want them to go near certain people. I just felt uncomfortable for them, but nobody knew what I was going through. So it came to the point where I was parenting these children, and I wind up being their, I guess, surrogate parent, adopting them, being a foster care parent, resource parent, custody and guardianship. And now, the last time you and I spoke, I only had 12, and you're my bonus, so that's 13. But now I have two more. So now I am parenting 15 children. I know that I must be crazy because the youngest one is 2, and she's a handful. But now I have 15 children that I'm parenting. I keep saying no more. I'm not going to do any more, but that's just who I am. So I have been doing this, parenting children, for a little over 45 years. And it may sound cruel to some other people, and I've come face to face with it with my own children. I didn't want any children. I wanted to go to college. I wanted to go to Howard University. I wanted to study law. I wanted to be an international judge. But he said, no, you're going to go down this path. I'm going to put you through this because I need to pull you through that. So wherever he sends me, I'm going to go because he hasn't been wrong yet. And I know not to question him. But I do have some questions, and that might get me into trouble just saying I have some questions, but I just need answers to certain things. I'm okay with that now. Before I was a little upset. Yes, I'm going to admit it. I was upset because I was saying, why me? And I had to turn around and look and say, well, why not you? Because if it was the lotto, I would say, well, why me? No, I wouldn't. Well, I hit the lotto with what I have now, and that's God as my favor. So I pushed through. I've written other books. Since then, I co-authored books with our producer here, and included in one of those books is my mother. She's 100 now, but she was, I believe, 97 when she did her part in the book. And that book has just made me so proud that I was able to share a moment with my mom and to be able to do something with her and just to let her know that life doesn't stop because you're aging. And she had a lot to say. Even when the book was done, she still had a lot to say. And to this day, she still has a lot to say. So I take it with a grain of salt because I'm learning a lot and I'm picking up a lot. And as a child, I should be ashamed to say this, but there's a story behind it. When you're growing up, you want to be like all your other friends. You want to have the things that they have. You want to do the things that they can do. But because my mother is old enough to be my grandmother, she raised me that way. So I didn't have access to certain things. And with her sisters and my aunts, I listened to the way that they told me I should be. And that's just the way that I grew up. And I still wanted to get my hair permed like everybody else and didn't have that straightening comb where it was catching the back of your kitchen and stuff like that. I didn't want that. I wanted what everybody else wanted. I wanted the clothes that they was wearing, the fashions and stuff that they was wearing, but I was kept as a little girl. And there was nothing wrong with that. But as I grew up and I wrote my book in my mother's house, I realized that I had the best of both worlds. I have a woman who's old enough to be my grandmother. She's my mother, and she's also my best friend. And I didn't realize that until I became an adult. When I say an adult, a traditional adult, not somebody that's 21 to 30. I'm talking about I was in my 40s when I realized that this should have come a lot sooner. So I enjoyed writing that book. Others did not like some of the things that was in that book, but I had to do that for me. It was for me. It was therapeutic, and I only did that, wrote that book, is because I didn't think I was going to survive. And I believe I had mentioned this story before, but so I'll make it short. Where a hit was put out on me, my husband, and my children, and I felt as though if we didn't make it, and my children did, and if I ever had grandchildren, I wanted them to know about me because I'm the only person that can tell them about me. So that's the reason why that book was written, and it was just published just so I can give it to them. But I didn't know it was going to take off, and it did, and I was happy with it. But I moved on. Some people may say you got the writing bug, but I wouldn't call it the writing bug. I would say that it was me moving from one category to the next, from one part of my life to the next, and that's where the journeys of Stacey F came in, and that was writing children's books on foster care and adoption. Because many people will say that I want to be a foster parent, I want to adopt a child, and they're hearing from other people, oh, how easy it is, and all you have to do is this, and all you have to. So I wrote a book that made it easy and generic for anyone who is thinking about being a foster parent, which I hope people are opening up their homes to foster children in a way that they need to be fostered and to show your love towards these children because they're going through a hard time right now. They're all traumatic because their home was disrupted. They were separated from their homes. So I did different parts of the book. She named me Stacy. That's when she first came into care. A temporary home for Stacy. That's when the homes are supposed to be temporary, but sometimes children come into foster care as newborns and they don't leave until they're aged out at 21. And that's a hard journey for a child to take. But then I did Stacy F. My Forever Mommy, where she was adopted and she found a forever mommy. So wherever you're at and whatever stage you're in the process of being a foster parent or an adoptive parent, you can pick up any one of those books and you can do that with the child that's coming into your home because a lot of children that come into your home and they could be your relatives' children, they're still a little standoffish because they don't know what's going on. And for social workers, the coloring book, the Stacey F. coloring book, That book should be used, well, I would hope that you would use it when you're engaging these children once they're separated from their home, because then you can talk to them about the things that Stacy was doing. And this is how you can get a lot of information from them, because they may be able to tell you while they're coloring, maybe grandma at the ice cream parlor, they may say that they live close to one. And then that's your cue to say, well, how far away did grandma live? And what's your grandmother's name? You can start to engage the children to get that information because they're they're starting to loosen up. So I did that book for everyone, but I mostly did it for the children that are in care so they can understand the journey, because it could be very scary going to somebody else's home. Just imagine the police knocking on your door and saying, "Come with me," and you're going. You're saying why? They're telling you you'll know when you get there, and then you're sitting in a room with people that you don't know, but then you have to sleep. You can be an adult, you can be a child. First thing you're gonna do is grab your pocketbook and hold it close. You're gonna grab whatever belongings you have. But a lot of these children come in and they're taken out of their homes with whatever they have, and it's usually whatever's on their back. So I decided I wanted to understand that a little bit more. So I did a trash bag challenge years ago, to where I walked the streets with a office sized garbage bag until it became one of those big construction bags. And that particular day that I had the construction bag, I had to go into court. And I said, "Oh Lord, I'm going into court with this bag." And I did. And I went into court with the bag. And my coworker walked in front of me, and she showed her ID and she walked through. He didn't check her bag. So I figured, well, I got my ID too. I walked in and he said, "Ma'am, I have to check your bag." And I turned and I said, "Well, I showed you my ID." He said, "But I still have to check your bag." I said, "But you let my colleague go in, and she went in with her bag, and she also had her ID. What is the difference between my bag and her bag? Is it because hers is Gucci and mine's is Glad? That shouldn't make a difference." But because I was at work, I didn't want to make a big thing of it. So I went on through. But at the end of the day, I walked back over to the officer and I explained to him what I was doing and why I had that big size bag. And he thanked me. He thanked me for letting him know what I was doing and why I was doing it. And I think that gave him a different perspective on people, because I could have also been a homeless person. I didn't have to necessarily play the role as a child coming into foster care and going into court with a worker. So I'm hoping that things have changed in the courthouse when you see people coming in, because we're all people and we all have different reasons for coming into court. So I would hope that they continue to respect people as they go through that journey. But again, with me, different things happen. Like I said, it's just like the flow of the wind. Something will change me in a minute, and I
Wow.
will do something different. I've written a book with actress comedian Kim Coles, and in the beginning, I didn't know what to share because so much has happened, and it's been such a long time ago. I'm trying to remember the chapter. Oh, I'm looking at the pillow. It's Triumph, and I spoke a lot about my husband in that book, and I spoke about how he was missing for 3 weeks before anybody told me that his body was in the morgue. So I wrote that in that book, and it's called "Open Your Gifts, Volume 2." And it, it was it was very hard to write because I still don't know what happened to him. I was told many stories, but the story that got me the most was when they told me that he died of a heart attack running for a bus. Now, if you had just told me that he died of a heart attack, I could have bought that. But the minute they told me he was running for the bus, I said, no, something's not right. I don't know how many times I've walked to the bus stop with my husband and that bus was coming and I'm running and he doesn't want to run because he wants to stop and smoke a cigarette. I don't know how many times we got into arguments because we missed the bus because he wanted to smoke a cigarette. So for them to tell me that he was running for a bus, he wasn't running for a bus, something else happened. So I asked them to do an autopsy, and they said they can only do a partial autopsy because of his age. Automatically, I thought foul play. But I didn't want to go down that road. What I wanted to do was to see my husband's body. And they took me down. And when I got to the door where he was laying at, I didn't have to go any further. I knew by the top of his head that was him. I walked around his body and I just looked at him. And I just shook my head and I looked up and said, "Thank you, Jesus." People may think I'm saying thank you, Jesus, not because he was dead. I'm saying thank you, Jesus, because he was here in this place for 3 weeks and you preserved his body so I can present him to his children. because he could have been in any other shape, form, or fashion. But I needed for his children to see him one more time in a way it looks like he's asleep. So we buried him. And after burying him, I said, I can't live in this house anymore. So we wanted to move. So we were packing to move. But it didn't take long for something else to occur. Life happened. We witnessed the murder and we had to run. And we had to leave everything behind again. So this is what the second or third time we had to leave everything behind. So we was homeless quite a few times. And they got us out of there. They put us in a location. We were with the Witness Protection Program. And we needed some of our things. At this time, it was me, and I had five of the children living with me at the time. So they allowed myself and my oldest son and a relative to go back to the house to get some things, but we weren't alone. They had, you would think it was SWAT, the way that they was coming out of the cars and surrounding it. The neighbors thought they were shooting a movie. We just didn't say anything. But when I got in the house, I started to go up the steps and I saw the thermostat. It was one of them old fashioned round thermostats that you can turn. And I saw something blue flickering from it. And I said, that's odd. It's never done that before. So I stepped down a step and I happened to look at the back window. The back window from the kitchen was broken. There was a two by four pushed through the back window on the stove. The gas was lit. And what was going on was that the mercury inside of the thermostat, if it had reached a certain level, the house would have blew up. So I had to yell, everybody get out of the house, get out of the house, get out of the house. And we went running out of that house. You should have saw us, all of us trying to get out that front door. We really didn't get anything out of the house. So I lost everything, everything that I had from my marriage, all the kids' things. I just walked away with nothing. So we got in the car, shaking and everything, and they took us back to our location. And they told us that we had to go back to court, but they said that they would let us know whether they're going to move us out of the state and change our names or where this court, the decision is going to be. So I said, well, it's my mom's birthday and I would like to see her one last time. They said, we can't do that. I said, I'm not leaving here without seeing my mother one last time. I said, they just don't know what's going on. I just need to see my mother. So they made that happen where we were able to go, but we couldn't stay long. But some people in the family knew what was happening because I saw people crying as they approached us. And all I could say is that we were okay and walk away. And we left. We went to court and we found out that the person who committed the crime was served right there and we were free. But we weren't really free. The children was, but I wasn't because I still look over my shoulders. I just don't know who to trust. I'm getting there though. It's a lot better than it used to be. I just wouldn't say anything to anybody, but now I don't have to look over my shoulders as much. But there are times where I'll scan a room before I go in to see who's in there. Most of the time, the hosts know who I am and know my journey. So if I have to leave, it's because I'm uncomfortable because somebody came in and I just wasn't comfortable around them, so I would leave. And they're respectful of that, and I appreciate that. So I moved on, and as I said, with all that time I took on more children, I had to fight systems to get these children, my relatives. They were going to be adopted by a non-relative, and the system would not acknowledge that I exist. They had no idea what I had went through, but they would not acknowledge that I exist. So they were going to let my niece be adopted by somebody that wasn't a relative. So the social worker in me decided to make a phone call to the court to stop the adoption. That worker told me I couldn't, but I was able to. And the strange thing about this is that there was another sibling that my niece had, which is my nephew. They never knew each other exist. She never let them visit. She told him he was the only child and told him that his mother had passed. So when I got him, as well as getting her, I had to let him know that your mother's alive. She did not pass. I said, as a matter of fact, your mother's getting ready to give birth to another child. So she's very much so alive. And that child, I have him too. That mother had 14 children and I took five of them. And I love her to pieces. but I had to make a deal with her. And to some, they may say it's not right. And they may say that a social worker can't do this, but she's my sister in law, so I can say and do whatever I want. I wasn't a social worker in that role. I told her that I would only take her 14th child, that she did not raise the rest if she does a tutelation, because enough was enough. All I have here. So that was done. And I think to save her life, I think she needed that done. I don't regret it at all. I didn't make a decision for her. I made a life alteration for her as well as for her children because they would have been placed all over the place, not have been together, and not know that I already had their older siblings. So that made it a little easier for me to bring them here. So
Wow.
those children started asking questions, and they want to know why they were in foster care and why I was adopted, and they didn't know. At 10 years old, I felt as though he should have known at least. So I explained it to him, and he said that I asked him, was he okay? And he said he was, but I wasn't okay with the story, so I didn't think that he was. But I noticed that his sister was there, and I said, she's going to probably ask me the same story. So that's when I developed a series of children's books on foster care and adoption. But since then, I moved on, and I did 1380 Prospect Avenue, Not Another Bronx Tale. And that story came about because of my relatives, whether they believe it or not. They grew up at that address in the Bronx, New York, at 1380 Prospect Avenue, and they would always sit back and talk about all the fun things they did, the stories, the places they've been, and I wasn't born then. But boy, I wish I was because it sounded like it was so much fun running outside and playing Scully on the streets and leaving your front door open where anybody gonna walk through there, talking to the gentleman on the corner, and you ain't got to worry about your kid talking to an adult because all he was doing was giving you knowledge and free soda pops. Those were the kind of things that they was doing, and I marveled at it. Saying, "Wow, I really wish that I was there. You guys sound like you had a lot of fun." So what I did was I took that address, and every place that they mentioned, I made it my own. So I was there, but at a different time. So I did the book trailer along with that, and we were supposed to do a movie, but COVID hit, so we had to stop. So we just have the book trailer out. Am I going to go back at it? I don't know. Several have asked me to continue with 1380 Prospect Avenue, but there's a character in there that I would just like to wring her neck. So I need to save her. I need to save her life because I'm quite sure the other people in the book want to do the same thing. So I'm not sure where I'm going to go with that book. But that moved me on to a place that I didn't think that I would go at all. My kids even asked me, "Mom, what possessed you to write this type of book?" I said, "I don't know." And that book, which is a book that just came out, and it is called The Habitual Liar, and it is not mistakenly written. It's spelled just like you see it. Um, this book took me 5 years to write. I had to go into therapy to write that book because of the things that the character was doing. I was putting myself in situations of this character, and if I didn't have a therapist, I would have lost myself. 5 years in therapy. I'm not ashamed to say it. 5 years in therapy to do this book. There's a character in this book. Oh my gosh. I haven't even read the book. I just wrote it. And that's one thing about me. I never read my books. I'll write them, I'll send them to the editor. We'll do our changes. And once they're out, they're out. But I can tell you about the chapters. I can tell you because I've studied them so long and hard, each chapter that I've written. But there's a chapter in this book that's just going to have some of you on the edge of your seat. And I usually tell people if they're purchasing from me, I need to see your ID because you should be over 21 to buy this book. Because I don't think that anybody under 21 should be reading it, but I can't stop from reading it. But when my daughter read it, she put the manuscript down. She said, "Ma, you're not going to do that." I said, "Yeah, I am." She said, "Why are you doing a book like that?" I said, "Because it needs to be done. You really can't judge a book by its cover." Yes, the title is The Habitual Liar. There's some things going on in this book that I believe a lot of people can resonate with. Even myself, well, I've been through some of the stuff that I allowed myself to go through in order to finish this book. And when I look back at it, I wouldn't have had it any other way. The journey was something, I'm gonna tell you though. I almost lost myself in there, but it was well worth it for it to go out to help the people that I designated it for. And I don't want to give that away because I'd rather for you to read the book to let me know that you were right. It does resonate. And I know a couple of people like this, or either maybe it's yourself. But what we did was we did a follow up with the book. And I have somebody called Dr. Carolyn Stevens, who was fantastic in helping me with that book. But we did this workbook, and this is the follow up on it, and it's called Cracks in the Surface, Strengths in the Core, Not Easily Broken. It's a workbook, it's a simple workbook, and we have a panel of individuals in the work. This book deals with trauma, it deals with mental health, it deals with disruptions in lives, it deals with so many different aspects that these individuals are doing the work. We had our first meeting, and I thought it was powerful. We had a session, and they're looking forward to the next one. And I believe some of them said, "Well, wow, I got this book, and I got to do the work." They're enjoying to do the work, and I'm doing it. I'm following along with them. So what I'm asking others is, if you want to follow our journey, although you're not a panelist, I would suggest you get the book and follow. She is the therapist that's on the call with us because I'm a social worker. Social worker, this social worker doesn't do therapy. I can give you those aspects of it, but she's fantastic and she will be able to do that with you. So if there's a listener or a viewer that's running into some challenges, we encourage you, put it in the chat. If you need for her to contact you, if you need to one-on-one with her, she will welcome you. But you can follow us along in the book because I'm very proud of the book. It does follow the character of the habitual liar. So one of the things that I'm sorry, because I'm very proud of it. One of the things that is coming out of this book is we're doing a conference next year, and we're doing a retreat next year. So I'm loving every bit of this book. We're going to be touching on a lot of things at this conference. We're working on a commercial. We have the panelists that will be working on it with us. So there's so many things that's coming out about these two books that are already on book number 3. Now some may ask, what about book number 2? Well, I'm going to give you this little hint about book number 2. There is no book number 2, but there is a book number 3. And I know somebody may be saying, well, how is that possible? Well, I'm going to tell you how it's possible. You already saw The Habitual Liar, which is book number 1. Don't quite have the title yet for book number 3, but it's in the works. But number 2 is not book number 2. It's called Thing 2. And it's going to surprise you because it scared me when I saw what I wanted to do with it. So, yes, I'm still in therapy because this character of mine is keeping me there. Some have asked, is that character you? Well, for those who know me, what I would say and suggest is for you to read the book and then you determine whether that character is me or not. I'm saying you really have to know me to know whether that character is me. So, like I said, this has been a wonderful journey. I have spoken to so many other authors. I have spoken to so many other individuals who are going through things. I have been on this journey with the Crew podcast for 3 years. And I'm just shaking my head like 3 years. We're going almost at the halfway mark of going into 4 years. And that's unbelievable. For me, it is. I don't think it is for the producer, but for me, going into 4 years on a podcast, it really tells you something. And I just really wouldn't have it any other way. Being a podcaster, I guess that's the way they say it, it does open doors for individuals. I don't take this podcast or the books, and this is just me talking for myself. I am not speaking for any other host on the podcast or the producer, or is it coming from the show? It's coming from me, Black Diamond. I don't use it for profit. I use it to get the message across to some people and hopefully the right people. Now, I do have another story that's coming out, but it's going to shake this earth when it does. I always have little secrets here and there, things that's coming, and I can't wait for this to come. And it's in due time. And I'm carrying it like it's a baby because it has to be. Because with this project that I'm going to be working on, I can't afford to make a mistake because people's lives are in jeopardy with that. So I'm taking it grain by grain with it, and I'm being very careful, and I'm looking at every aspect of it. Now, I had been asked to speak on a certain subject, but I told them that I couldn't do it right now. And they want me to do it right now, but they respect why I can't do it right now. So I said that I will do it, but I can't do it now. So I'm working with them on a timeline of when I should be available to do it, and I'm excited. I'm excited about it, and just for them to ask me to do it, it makes me understand that somebody was listening. Somebody was listening, and I'm hoping I'm the voice for many. I'm not trying to be Mother Teresa or anybody else. It's just that, again, it's things that I've experienced. So I can talk about the things that I experienced and others have as well. But I think I might have the upper hand in this situation. And that's because of the roles that I play. When I say play, it's not a game. It's just the roles that were handed to me. So now I see why I should not have went to Howard University. Because what has happened to cause an individual to ask me to speak on that platform, I don't think God would have thought anybody else could have done it. So he chose me to do it. And in due time, it will be done. When he says that I'm ready to go and do it, that's when I'm going to do it. So I know right now he's not pushing for me to do it because he doesn't want a mistake with this, because he wants, once it's said and done, that it's over and it will be taken care of. But he needs somebody to get out there and do the work. Now, I didn't volunteer myself, but I'm up for the challenge. So I'm going to enjoy knowing that he's chosen me to do this particular thing. You know what it's like to have somebody believe in you? To know that he believes in me that much to put this in my hands. I don't have to look at a dollar bill to say, "In God we trust," because I trust you all the way. Nobody has to put on a stamp in the back of something green and say, "In God we trust." I already trusted him before I even knew what the dollar bill was. So there are some projects that I'm working on. It's a project that I had, maybe about 10 years ago. And it's a television series that we're also working on. And I'm hoping that that's going to be out by the end of 2026, maybe early 2027. But there's a lot of work to go into that. So the pilot has already been done. It hasn't been released yet. We're just going to be tweaking it. And we're trying to find a location. I found one, but I don't know whether they're going to actually allow me to use that space. So we're still looking for other places. But I'm very happy and proud of the pilot with it. And I'm surprised somebody else didn't think about doing this project on television. And the more I look at it and the more I think about the characters, the more I enjoy what it's going to be about. Now, there will be auditions because we do need people to play the roles of those characters. But I'm going to be honest, I will not be there at the audition because some people I may know. And I don't think that would be fair to them or to other people. For me to be there and to say, yes or no. So we will post when those auditions will come up, and we'll try to make it convenient for people to be able to get there and to do it. And again, Dr. Carolyn Stevens is working with me on that project as well. I first met her, as a matter of fact, I interviewed her. And we could have continued to talk forever. And now we do. Now we do. Behind the scenes, we talk because there's just so much planning into every little aspect of everything that we do. And we're taking it step by step. She has a wonderful team behind her. And I've developed, well, some sort of a team on the other side that I can go to if I need it. Now, if anybody knows me, you know I usually like doing things by myself. I've learned a lot through being on the podcast and with the young ladies that's on the podcast that you can't do everything by yourself. And you cannot have everything done in the way that you expect it to be done because you will never learn from it if you're expecting it to be done and it's going to be done. You won't learn. So I've been learning on this journey as well. But one of the things I do need to learn how to do is to slow down. I've told other people, slow down, take care of yourself, slow down, take care of yourself. I need to be one of those people. I need to listen to myself and I need to slow down and I need to take care of myself. Now, I do remember there was a time that I was afraid that if I slowed down, then somebody else would be there to take my place. But we're in different places in our life right now. So people don't know exactly what I'm doing. I'm a person that likes to share information and share knowledge. But once I get myself going, I'm just like a locomotive. I just keep going and going and going, or maybe the ever ready battery. But I enjoy everything that I have been doing. And some of my children help me along the way. If I don't mention them, I'm quite sure once they see this, they'll say, "You didn't even say anything about your kids." I do. They do support me. They do help me in certain areas of what I need to have done. And I see me getting ready to slow down. And I also see, and I'm very proud to say that I'm going to be retiring soon. I didn't think those words would come to my mouth, but I'm setting up a date to actually retire from a lot because I want to watch my grandchildren live. I want to see them live life. And the only way I can do that is to sit back and watch them live. And there's one more person that I am enjoying watching him live life. He was in the airport today on his way to see me and my mother. And while he was in the airport, you would have thought he was a kid in a candy store. He kept saying, "Do you see the airplane take off? Do you see the airplane take off?" And I'm just watching a face, and it's like a little boy with his face pressed to the plane. He said, "Did you see that go? Another one is coming in." That's my older brother who was looking at that, and I'm not ashamed to say that he was incarcerated for almost 30 years. And for him to tell me that he sees that airplane, I'm watching his eyes light up as he's watching it. I wasn't watching him. I hope you don't hear me, but I wasn't watching the airplane. I was watching him watch the airplane take off coming in and take off going out. He just arrived here maybe about an hour ago. And that's all he was talking about was the airplane. Now, he's been on a plane before, but it's been a while. And he's talking about driving a car. Now, I'm not going to get into that mess with him with that car because this brother was supposed to go to the Bronx when we were living in Queens. And we wind up in Connecticut. And I told him, I said, "We are." He said, "We in the Bronx." I said, "No, we're not." He says, "We are in the Bronx." I said, "I bet you $100 that we're not in the Bronx." He says, "You can't tell me. I've been driving before you was born." Now, mind you, he's only 4 years older than me. So I don't know what he think he was driving before I was born, but it wasn't an actual car. He might have been one of those little red cars with the little brown wheels that we all had growing up. I told him, I said, "You know why I know we're not in the Bronx? Two things. The grass is never that green in the Bronx, and those two Mounties sitting up there across that little short bridge. So if you don't turn us around and get us up out of here, I'm gonna have a fit." Do you know this fool turned around on the bridge? All I did was say, Lord, take me now. Because I know they was gonna come after us. I'm like, you don't turn on a bridge, not one of those bridges like you can just walk across. They allow cars to go on if they're going across. But this brother of mine turned around on the bridge, and I just said, take me home. He said, no, we told mommy we was going to the Bronx. We left Connecticut and we wound up in Manhattan. How that happened, I don't know. So I've been everywhere that day. I was in Connecticut, I was in Queens, never made it to the Bronx, was in Manhattan, and we was in Jersey. And I'm looking at him. I was so disgusted with him at that point. We didn't have no more money for the bridge, for the pay the toll. We had no money to eat, and I was starving. We had one of those Axel Foley cell phones, you know, those big ones, and we had beepers that wasn't going to help us none. We didn't have charges, so we were in the jam. He got me
Wow.
home, and I walked up them steps. My mother asked me, "Did you see your aunt?" I said, "Ask him." I was so mad. I said, "Ask him." And she knew we never made it. I guess she thought we was joyride. I said, "Speedy Gonzalez over there said he knew how to get to the Bronx." So you would have thought after 30 years I would have learned a lesson. So I went to Atlanta to visit him a couple of months ago, and I was going to a book event there at Andretti Raceway, and he said he would drive me. And I thought my nephew was going to drive me. He said he would drive me. I looked over at him. I said, I said, no, baby. I said, my last ride with you wasn't a good one. He got in this truck of his. The truck is older than both of us put together.
Mm.
And I don't even know what kind of seatbelt it had, but I was holding on. And it was one of those Fred Sanford trucks. That's the kind of truck that he was in, and it was white, so you could notice the thing. He made it to where he had to go, but I was shaking all the way. I was like, man, I'm in a state that I don't know too much about. He barely knows about this state. I said, I know my phone is charged. Pull over to go to the bathroom. I got on warm clothes. I'm good. So he can get lost all he wants. And I had a couple of dollars in my pocket too. I was good. I said, he can get lost if he wants to. I said, my flight goes back in a couple of days and I'm good. I'll go from wherever I'm at. But he made it. I was proud of him. I won't tell him that, but I was proud of him. He made it to the local driver. Still,
Wow.
so I'm one those 30 years that I've been driving all that time and you have. Give me the keys to your car. Not my car. I don't let nobody drive my car. I'll drive you there, but you're not driving. He goes back into I've been driving before you were born. I said, here we go. He said, you know what? I really want to see your birth certificate because you act like you are that much older than me.
Wow.
But I told him, I said, you know what? We'll never be the same age.
Wow.
So you got that one. But that's
Wow.
my story, and this is who I am. I am Black woman.
Well, you definitely have shared a lot. I definitely you've given us a lot to look forward to hold on to. I mean, you dropped a lot. So I definitely want you to now share with the listeners how they can stay in contact with you and support some of these amazing things that you're doing. Like, we want people to be able to follow you and support some of these things.
It's under author Black BLAQUE diamond.com. So if you go in there now, it may say reconstruction, or you might see some old things, but we're rebuilding that for a new brand that I'm coming up with. And one of the things I didn't mention was I do have a candle line as well. Um, one of them is called the bedroom candle. I do have the Forever Candle, and that Forever Candle is for National Foster Care Month. So any of the proceeds goes to National Foster Care to get duffel bags and suitcases for children in foster care. So we always pick out an organization and we just surprise them and just knock on the door and say, here you go. So nobody never know who it's going to be. And now I have the Habitual Liar candle that is out. So that should be arriving at my house today. And I can't wait for it to come. So those are some of the things. But I am on author.blackdiamond.com. You can reach me diamond357 at yahoo.com. I'm on Facebook under Author Black Pages, but I'm letting people know that I'm going to be closing to be dealing with all those pages and do this, do this, do this. Look, I'm 60 years old. I can't keep doing this. Give me one page and I'm good. Them other ones, I can't do it anymore. It's just too much to keep in track with everybody. Um, you can see me on YouTube, and you'll probably see me on YouTube with the crew. I do have my own you, YouTube channel, but heck if I know how to use it. Twitter, heck if I know how to use it. I think I know the handles. I don't remember them. I will post them on my Facebook page, and I think that's one of my best friends is Facebook because I definitely know how to use that. And I don't normally give out my number, but I'll give you a number you can catch me at, and that's 443-503-3055. Again, that's 443-503, and the last four numbers, if you can remember it, is called DOLL. DOLL. See, that's old phones when you have the numbers and everything, the letters there. That's what we did as kids, teaching our children how to use the phone by coming up with something cute so they can remember it. But it is 443-503-3055. 3055 spells out doll. So you can reach me any one of those ways, or you can reach me through the Crew podcast with the producer, Queen Angela Thomas Smith. She knows how to get in contact with me. So we're hoping that you see us on the 16th of this month. We're going to be doing Cracks in the Surface, Strengths in the Core, Not Easily Broken with the next panel. If you haven't gotten your book, please go to Amazon to get your book and to join us. You would only be behind one chapter, one session rather, and I can take you through it. It's an easy session. And some of them already received other little gifts that I had sent them to help them on this journey. And they said they received it and they received the gift. So I'm very proud of them for joining me on this journey. It's more than what I thought it would be. And I'm very proud of it. But had it not been for me being on this podcast, I would have probably never thought about doing something outside on. And I'm back in be a traumatologist. So I'm this is where I'm at, and this is what I'm doing. So I'm just really happy, really proud. Um, I don't know what else that I could say, but thank you all for those who follow, those who listen, and those who are part of this podcast, all my sister podcasters. And I understand we're going to be having some brothers along with us. So I thank you all and appreciate you all.
Well, I want to thank you for sharing on tonight, and I want to thank everyone that has shared in on tonight. Please make sure that you follow, support, and share this out so that you can stay connected to author Black Diamond. She says she's not an author, but she's an author because if we have a story to tell and that's writing it, it's putting it out there. That's what authorship is all about. So definitely, she's definitely doing that and giving others an opportunity to do that too. I definitely love what she's doing with this panel. Definitely need it. So I encourage you guys to support it, to get involved. Get the book. If you've not purchased Habitual Liar, go over and get it. Matter of fact, get you an autograph copy. I like getting the autograph copies from the authors. When you support the authors, that's when the authors really win. So support the author. She is one of the authors, a part of the 100 authors movement. So definitely you're gonna see her around, her and the rest of the authors. Y'all, we're out here being the change that we desire to see, and we're doing it through the 4 C's. That's connecting, collaborating, creating, and community building. And if you're looking for a supportive family of authors, we're right over here. 100 Author Movement. I am the visionary, Queen Angela. If you need a home, we're going to leave the light on for you. I tell you, I have enjoyed you on tonight, Author Black Diamond. I hope that you have a great rest of your evening. And I look forward to seeing
Me
you on
too.
this journey out here in these streets in person. I like to see these authors in person. So I like to come from behind
Yeah.
the streets. So see you soon. Love you. Be blessed. And thank
Love
you
you all. Thank
guys
you so
for
much.
tuning in. Thank you guys for tuning in. Y'all have a great night.